In this video, we're going to be taking a look at 10 awesome games coming in the spring. Spring is not traditionally known as a gigantic season for big epic games, but this year definitely has some titles you should keep an eye on. Let's get right into this. Little Nightmares. Little Nightmares is a horror puzzle platformer where you play as a little girl who was kidnapped and taken to work in the Maw, an underwater resort catering to the whims of the elite. This has potential to be one of the great unsung games of the year with potential in its art and gameplay direction. Little Nightmares releases on April 28th. Sniper Ghost Warrior 3. Sniper Ghost Warrior has been a relatively consistent franchise. The games have been okay, but nothing amazing. The latest in the franchise, Sniper Ghost Warrior 3, is touted as the first title to feature AAA production values. Just like several games this generation, it takes a formerly linear franchise and brings it to an open world setting filled with optional content and side quests. Sniper Ghost Warrior 3 has potential to take the franchise to the next level, and hopefully it does so when it releases on April 25th for PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
I knew you'd come.
I'll find him. And I'll make them pay.
Rime. Rime is a game that has seen quite a bit of developmental turmoil. Originally it was to be a PS4 exclusive, however later it was announced to be a multi-platform title. The game itself is a very artistic adventure puzzle game similar to something like The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. It revolves around a boy who needs to escape an island in a world, and you have to solve puzzles on the island in order to escape. The game comes to PS4, Xbox One, and PC on May 26th. A Switch release is also planned for the summer. Dirt 4. Dirt 4 is the latest in the rally racing series by Codemasters, featuring cross-platform leaderboards, land rush mode, stadium tracks, and buggy racing, and the return of Dirt 3's Joyride mode. It also builds upon the team management system introduced in Dirt Rally. Dirt 4 comes to PS4, PC, and Xbox One on June 9th.
We got very good friends, so when the first Paul McRae game started, that was very enjoyable to be a part of the first game. And for me, he was a fantastic person. He was very aggressive and good fun. So it makes...
Rally's always been a passion of mine. I got into video games, co-driver and compete for real. And getting real world...
Circuit racing driver will do one corner 10,000 times. For me, in a circuit racing environment, you tend to memorize it and you tend to get used to it and you become robotic to some degree. Whereas in rallying, you have to remain completely open.
If we're going to allow players to generate their own tracks, we want those players to be able to share them between each other, making sure that
there's potentially millions, a near infinite amount of stages that we could create. We have ways of setting up the stage, and with that we have the elevation, so you've got more heights and more change in jumps and that kind of thing.
Yooka-Laylee. Yooka-Laylee is a Kickstarter game being developed by Playtonic Games, a team that includes members of the staff that worked on Banjo-Kazooie, and Yooka-Laylee can be seen as a spiritual successor to that game. You play as a male chameleon Yuka and a female bat named Laylee, the former being sensible while the latter is a little off the wall. Visually, the game looks great, and the gameplay design is a throwback to the great platformers of yesteryear. Yooka-Laylee comes April 11th to PS4, PC, and Xbox One, and a Switch version will be coming later in the year. Injustice 2. Injustice 2, once again being developed by NetherRealm, is the sequel to 2013's Injustice Gods Among Us, and gameplay-wise it's going to be very similar to the previous game with minor mechanical adjustments. It introduces a new loot dropping system, and as far as the story, it's set 5 years after the first game, centering around Batman and his insurgency's attempt to restore society. The game features several new characters, and more will be coming through DLC. Injustice 2 releases on PS4 and Xbox One on May 16th. The Surge. The Surge is a science fiction action RPG being developed by Deck 13, who definitely aren't the most renowned studio in the world, but those are the guys behind the pretty good Souls-like game in Lords of the Fallen. The Surge follows in those footsteps, a super challenging third-person melee game, but with a very different setting, a dystopian future where mankind has exhausted the world's resources, leading to strained social service and environmental diseases. It's a grim portrait of the future, and hopefully Deck 13 is able to build upon what they did with Lords of the Fallen, and this turns out pretty good. The Surge releases on May 16th for PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
Oh. But we have some new friends out here. This must be the hazard response squad that was mentioned in that announcement while we were underground. But they appear to consider us contaminated and in need of cleansing by fire, I suppose. You gotta be careful with these guys. The guys who shoot the gas canisters aren't all that dangerous by themselves. Their gas canisters will deal damage while you're in the radius. But with the fire guys, they're quite dangerous. So the gas there is flammable, and it'll explode if a flamethrower touches it. And so the way to deal with this, as you can see, is to split them apart a little bit. So Torsten is using the concussive module on his drone.
Final Fantasy XIV Stormblood. Final Fantasy XIV is one of the most inspirational stories of any game. Originally, when it was released in 2010, it was absolutely disastrous, but the game was rebuilt and released as Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn, and it completely revitalized the MMO. Needless to say, it has been a success ever since, and soon we'll be getting the next major expansion in Stormblood. It increases the level cap to 70, brings new dungeons, raids, zones, 2 new jobs, and more. Final Fantasy XIV Stormblood releases on June 20th on PS4 and PC. Sorry to PS3 owners, that's gonna be phased out. Prey. Prey is a sci-fi first-person shooter being developed by Arcane Studios, the guys behind the excellent Dishonored games. It's a reimagining of the original 2006 Prey title, which was gonna get a sequel, but that was cancelled, and now we have this. And while this is a first-person shooter, it features RPG elements as well as a strong narrative with multiple endings. The game has a lot of potential, and considering Arcane's track record, I have high expectations for Prey. It releases on May 5th for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Finally, Persona 5. Persona is finally back after nearly 9 years. The latest in the mainline entry in Persona 5 is almost here. If you don't know what Persona is, which if you're a fan of JRPGs, I'd be very disappointed if you don't, nonetheless, they are excellent games that blend a dungeon crawling RPG with a Sims-like social simulator. It's very interesting and different, and it blends these two different gameplay styles very well. It keeps the games engaging, and considering they can go for as long as 100 hours, that's very important. Persona 5 received incredibly strong reviews over in Japan, and will be getting it stateside on April 4th for PS3 and PS4.
This is awesome! I feel like we're gonna get along just fine as troublemakers.
I wish to pursue beauty like this.
Taste the wrath of those who are preyed upon by you!
What's the answer?
Come to me!
What the hell? How come you suck?
We can do this if we all work together! I'd rather that than be bad at every subject!
It's not just Japan anymore. The whole world's waiting to see the Phantom Thieves' next move.
So that wraps up 10 great games coming in the spring. What do you think? Which spring games are you the most excited for? Let us know in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.